Okay, putting out some cable restraints today. As you can see, the farm is so muddy, I didn't even bother taking my waders off. I was setting mink traps at the muskrat pond. Now I'm up setting some predator traps here. You can see the cable I have in behind me. I'm gonna try a couple of different ones. This one I painted like a tan. I have one that's untreated. I have one that's dyed. So I'm gonna try them and see if we catch or we don't catch them. We'll see what happens. Here you can see I have this one set in a nice cross-cut trail. No entanglement, that's what we want. So the animals are coming through here. I have it low, I have it maybe 3 to 4 inches off the ground, and then about a 6 or 7 inch loop size for fox. I'm gonna try for red fox. I have not had good look for fox on the farm this year at all. I didn't see any on the trail camera. I didn't see any scat or tracks around some of the paths here that I usually trap. I did see one a few weeks ago that was hit on the road on the other side of the highway here, so that's not a good sign for me. But I'm hoping there's some that are moving back into the area, at least. We'll see. I'm gonna put a bunch of these out in trails that are leading into the pine trees here behind me. That's pretty thick in there. With all the crops down, it limits where I can put my cable restraints on good trails without entanglement. Of course I could put them in the woods, but I can't do that because that's not legal. So I'm gonna set a few more of these out and then I'll show you what I'm using. Here's a quick look at the cable kit. I have anchors. Actually this time, just the other day I was at Cabela's and I picked up 2 dozen Minnesota brand, the Wolf anchors, the Wolf Fang. I like those. And they weren't that expensive. They were $20 a dozen. I got the driver to go with it. Ordinarily I use super stakes like this. Now I have super stakes pretty much on all of my foothold traps. Then here's the driver for the Wolf Fang. See how it's cut in the top, so it holds the trap anchor nice. These are the cable supports that I have here. I got these from the snare shop. It's pretty heavy gauge wire and it's welded to a nail. So for when the weather is ordinarily freezing like it should be, but it's not because now I'm laying in a pool of mud, but you hammer this down into the ground and you can hammer it right into frozen ground, and then it's got the little loop on it to stop it from twisting around. Really like that setup. So I made some of my own. Some I made myself. Same deal. I welded the wire to the nail and then I dyed the wire so it wouldn't rust. It was actually galvanized and it was pretty shiny, so I didn't want it that shiny, so I dyed it. But yeah, that's a pretty nice setup. I'm sure it'll hold the cables up pretty good. You can see here I have my cables in bags. This one is dyed. This is 7x7. I have 1x19 as well. I really like the 1x19. Those are super nice. Those are probably the only ones I will get from now on. But we're gonna put some of these out and see what we got. Of course, I've got my hammer for driving the stakes down. I'm using clips to anchor the cable restraint to the Wolf Fang, so I can change it off if I have to. Usually with a snare, if you're setting on, you can see here where the trail I'm gonna put it on right there. But it'll be far enough from the little Christmas tree there that they won't be able to reach it. It'll be the stake is gonna be out towards me. But that's a pretty heavily used trail. I know that I've seen fox coming through there too. Coyote may be using it as well. The deer use it. That's gonna be my biggest obstacle. If you look around here, you'll see trails, cross-cut trails. You can see here, that's a deer trail right there. So this is what I plan on putting the cables in. You see here in the neighboring farm, there's trails coming through there, deer trails. There's trails coming through here. But you see here, look, there's a very obvious trail right there. And that's a deer trail. So, but you know the fox and coyotes are gonna follow that trail. And a lot of times I catch coyotes on trail camera following deer trails. That's what they're doing. They're following the deer. So I'm going to put some in throughout here and see what happens. Now, for it to be legal for PA, where I'm at, all my cables have deer stop and livestock stop. So it opens so far and then it closes so far. And so if a deer steps in it, he'll be able to get out. All right, let's just about see that there. I actually painted the snares the tan, like a flat tan color. We'll see. I tried boiling some of them, and some guys said about using baking soda, and I don't like that. It seems to deteriorate the steel. It also makes the cable less slick, so it triggers less. A good tip I seen the other day was from Alan Prost's dad. He used the grass and he pulled the grass up either side of it. Now this is a deer trail, so the deer are hopefully going to step over that. Sometimes they'll brush against it. I have the trigger just on the top here. This is the lock just on the top. So anything that touches it's going to go. That's going to slip forward. Have it same set for fox. Coyote would probably go in there too. About a 6 to 7 inch loop. But you can see this trail goes this way, then it splits that way. Lots of deer footprints in it. It's mudded down. The deer have it pretty much beat down. So what I did was, in this little narrow spot, I pulled the grass in around it so you could only go through that loop, which is where we want it. So hopefully some of these connect. My first season using cable restraints, so. Okay, first impression setting cables. Yeah, I like that, nice and quick. You can put in sets really quick. You can cover a lot of territory. You're not carrying bait, you're not carrying lure. It is fast, that's for sure. Still looking for spots here. I seen some rabbit trails up here when I came in earlier on. There's one right there. So yeah, I like it. You're not carrying a lot of kit. I got a little tool bag there that you seen earlier on. I basically put everything I need in there. I have a wire cutter to cut the animal out of the snare, or if I get a deer in one and I have to cut the snare, I can do that. It's pretty simple equipment. I got the wolf fang anchors. I seen Trapper Jay using those and they look pretty decent. So like I said, I got 2 dozen of those. Usually I use the super stakes, but I really like that earth anchor. I've had issues with the smaller earth anchors like that, the Berkshire anchors. I've had them pull out, especially on DPs. I've had coons dig at that freaking cable and pull and pull and pull and pull, and in muddy ground they will come out. But those, they ain't coming out. It's like the super stakes. You get them down deep enough, even in clay, you get them down into hard packed dirt and you set that anchor, it's not moving. Now with a cable, because the animal is going to be alive, it's not like a snare which dispatches the animal. With a cable, you need a good anchor because he has all 4 feet pulling. So if you get, even a coon or a fox, a coyote, especially coyotes are powerful too. You need a good anchor to hold that animal down, because he doesn't have 1 foot stuck in a trap. He's got all 4 feet pulling, and the cable gives him a certain amount of room that he can move around, but you want to make sure it's well anchored. You always want to make good record of where you put your snares too, because they're easy to, or your cables, they're easy to forget, where you have them. Some guys will put flagging up on them. I'm not putting that many out. I'll remember where they are. I'll note them down in my notebook as to where they are, but let's get a couple more in and we'll be on our way. Time for go home for New Year's Eve, get some food. Okay, here's our untreated snare, the 9x19, super slick. That thing will go off quick as you like. You can see I have the cable anchored in there. You can see here, look at deer footprint. See now these deer are using this trail here. They're coming out this way, down this way. They're coming across this way down where I have my bag. This stuff here is, it's got to have rodents and stuff in it. I know there's rabbits living in here too. Chipmunks, squirrels. So now here's the last trail I'm going to do here. I'll find a narrow spot here, like right there. I'll put one in there, and that'll do for today. I got a while to do, you know, for cable restraints yet. I got a while to go yet, so got plenty of time. I'll try a few today just to test and see what happens. Okay, I'll show you quick the anatomy of our cable restraint. There we have our wolf fang anchor. There we have our link so we can disconnect it. This is our heavy duty swivel on our cable. Of course, my tag, cable. Got a relaxing lock. Got a livestock stop. This is our support clip. You got a breakaway. That hoop there, it's got, I think, a 300-pound breakaway, so if a cow or something or a bear steps in it, you know, might be able to rip his foot out of it. Of course, there we have our deer stop right here. So, of course, it's designed to go on the trail like so. You want to make a nice loop. You want to preform your cable. You always want your lock facing down, so you have it set. You want a nice round loop, as round a loop as possible. So then when the animal comes through here, touches it, it comes down on him. But then this is not like a snare. He can pull on it and it will go tight, but as soon as he lets pressure off it, it releases. So it'll be alive when you come back to get it. So for a fox coyote, if I can remember right, for fox you want a 6 to 7 inch loop, the width of your hand. For coyote you can go a little bit bigger. You know, maybe 8 inches, something like that. That's as big as I'd want it. And then you want it about, for a coyote you want it, you can go a little higher off the ground. For a fox you can go a little lower to the ground. Sometimes though coyotes will trail with their head on the ground, like all predators do. Even a dog, he trails with his head facing to the ground. So sometimes you've got to put a chin lifter underneath the snare to get him to bring his head up to go through the hole. But you can see here where I'm going to put it. Like I said, this is my cable support. So you see there how it did it with the nail. And that's real nice. You just push that right into the ground and it's done. And then the little tag stops it from moving around. What we're going to do is, here's where I'm going to put it. There's like little branches on either side of it and grass I can fluff up around it. So I'm going to put the support wire in right about here. Ground is muddy today, so it doesn't take much effort. Yeah, the ground is muddy today, so it's not going to take a lot of effort. That's for sure. It just slides right in there. Now, cable. Here. I'm going to drive my anchor in up here. You can see how that wolf fang end, it fits right, it's machine fit. So it fits right into that anchor. Like a big broadhead. And then you can just hold it and then hammer it down into the ground. That's a nice setup. I like that. Start it off. Go right down to that loop. Say right down to hard tack. Torque. Stay driver out. You see I'm trying to stay on the trail. I'm not going off each side of the trail. You want to keep your trail intact so that the animal has a minimal, amount that he can get around. Set our cable. Always make sure you set earth anchors. I always want to do that. Sometimes you'll drive them into a hollow log or something that's under the ground that's not secure. Support. nice round loop. You want your loop pretty much to hang straight, you know, straight up and down. I'm gonna bring it up a little higher than that. You have it too low to the ground, you get possums and stuff in them. So I have a little clearance there. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring the grass back up here, fluff it back up, so it can crowd it a little bit. You can use a rake for this too, you can rake it up. The rain has it beat down, the ice has it beat down, the deer have it beat down. So now you see, we're getting at that. He only has that small little passageway to go through. That's what you want. Get those out of the way. Cable can be a pain. I know, because I have to deal with cable at work. If you kink it or it's not straight, boy, it can be a nightmare to work with. I want to get that just where I want it. Get it nice and straight. And there you have it. So I stayed on my trail. Just thought that the chest waders here, it's not leaving any ground scent. It's like wearing a giant rubber boot. There you can see the set behind me. You should be able to just barely see that. Here's my loop right here. That's where it is. So, first time trying cables. If you have any advice, please put it in the comments, because this is all new to me. Done a lot of research on it, of course. I had to do training on it. You got to get a special certification in the state of Pennsylvania to put out cable restraints, separate from your fur taker's license. You have to do a class to get that. There's a lot of rules, of course. Like any state, there's rules and regulations for here too. Same. You see how quick that you can put them in. Boom. You can lace a field with them. You know. You're kind of restricted as to where you can put them. I'm avoiding the woodland, of course, because that involves entanglement. So unless I have a very clear trail, but you can put it on a trail, on an open trail, but this is like funneling that animal to go through that cable. It's when you have it set in the open, he can go walk around it. So what's the point? So you have to, of course, it's like anything else. You're trying to funnel the movement of that animal. It's the same thing if you're putting a cubby set up or something, and you put a trap in front of a cubby. You want them to step on that trap. Well, I want them to walk through the cable. Same thing. It's just making them go where you want them to go. Like I said, I don't know if there's any fox left on the farm here or not. I have some time. I may put some out later in the season on public state game land. Wait till all the guys are done pheasant hunting and stuff like that. But much better for winter conditions, especially not with the mud. Mud does not affect that trap. Mud has no effect on that at all. Ground conditions have no effect on it. The only thing that will affect it is snow. If the snow comes up, it'll bury it. So you could adjust it. You can come back and adjust it up just so that the animal's going to walk at the correct height. Of course, it's going to get buried under the snow, but like I said, you'd move it. It's no different than dealing with pocket sets in rising or lowering water. You know, you've got to deal with that too. But hopefully you found that video helpful, and hopefully we'll catch something. We'll see. We'll give it a couple of days and see what goes on. All right, see you on the next one.